Hi guys, in this review we're checking out the Focus FK-2001 keyboard. I currently have 4 of these, but I'm about to sell them all off, so I figured I need to get a video before I do so. These were very common vintage mechanical keyboards throughout the late 80s and in the 90s, and they came with a whole bunch of different switches. Across all 4 of these boards, I have 3 different switch types. In total, these could come with Blue Alps very rarely, White Alps, Simplified Alps Type 3, OA2 clones, T1 clones, Futaba MA switches, and the Omron Alps style clones. This first one over here has OA2 clones, which are actually quite nice, I think. They do ping a decent bit, but they are one of the earlier wide click leaf clones, so they definitely feel better and sound better than the mantis or narrow copper leaf clones. These are actually one of my fastest typing switches. I definitely want to find another board with these switches that's, a bit better built than the 2001, because I really like these switches. And they are a bit lighter than Alps, weighted more closer to the 60-gram mark. Coming over here, this one has the T1 clones, which is one of the crappier narrow copper leaf clones. They don't, they don't sound as nice, but they don't feel that nice either. I guess maybe it's something to do with it being copper. If you press it really slow, the tactile bump is really small on these T1 clones. But if you press them more normal, then the tactile bump feels greater. But at the same time, they just don't feel nice and kind of clunky. And something I discovered when I was cleaning these out, the insides, that little inside part of the slider actually has a rough texture to it, unlike the OA2 clones and White Alps. I think that might be part of why these don't feel as nice. So yeah, I wanted to try these out, but I didn't really like them. And even after cleaning, they still bind a decent bit, so yeah. And pretty much the winkey models always came with these clones, so I would just avoid the winkey ones altogether, because even these winkeyless ones came with better normal Alps or even better clone switches, which these are so much better. It's this one was the dirtiest of all of these, yet I think it actually came out the best. And then moving into the third one, this has a genuine pine White Alps. I think I could turn on my light. Yeah, you can see the slits there. Pine White Alps. They sound nice, but unfortunately these don't feel that nice because they're not in the best condition. Maybe a 6 out of 10 or something. I was gonna keep it, but then I realized after cleaning the switches they still didn't feel the best, so they just feel, they don't even bind as bad as these, even though these are actually still cleaner. But these just feel, I guess, kind of scratchy. So, yes, I've decided this one's going to go too. I got some other White Alps boards that are much better that I'll be showing you later anyway. And then another winkey one with the same T1 clones. This one was in the worst condition, so I swapped this thing and the badge onto these because, a couple of these boards are missing those parts, so I swapped those in here. So what I'm going to do with this one is harvest the keycaps and stabilizers for somebody for a custom Alps build. So, at least, even a lot of these late winkeyless ones still had double shot caps, although the windows and menu keys. I think this control key is also pad printed. There are some like really light 2001s that were all pad print, although those you can recognize the font not being as good. And for those simplified Alps Type 3 switches that can only be found in some of these winkey ones, surprisingly, but I've never seen the winkey ones with those. However, I managed to snag a batch of them, new old stock. They're basically fake blue Alps. They're like a genuine Alps slider click leaf and housing with Huajia contacts, basically the same contacts as in these clone switches, they're super interesting. I put them in a Matthias keyboard for a project, and they came out really well though. If you buying these switches loose, they're known to have defects, but if you somehow find them in a board, they don't have the known problems. As I stated before, these all came with really nice double shots. The correct name for these is actually UKF DS03, and they're recognizable by the star-shaped mold patterns on the inside. A little bit thinner than the Taihao caps, but being double shot, they're actually still really nice. And don't have to worry about the legends fading. Apart from these things having pretty mediocre build quality, not the best, but absolutely not horrible either. They are really nice looking, I will say. I don't know what it is, but like, just like the basic styling with like this like subtle curve here, and I don't know, the ridges at the top and everything. It just flows like so well together. And even like the walk light bank is kind of angled, which is really, it's kind of nice actually. I feel like all keyboards should have them like that. And these older ones all had colored keys, which is kind of neat. Makes these older ones a bit more special. And these older ones are at least more common. But then, going over to the Windows keys models, they're all black, which is a little bit, doesn't have quite as much character as these older ones. The later ones actually had this removable insert here. Yes, you actually can take these out. And that was because they used the same case for the FK-2000 Plus, which had like a star nav and turbo button in this little thing here. And I can't decide if I like, just the basic squares here or just the empty thing here, but that's interesting. A lot of the later ones have it. Although both of my winkey ones were made pretty close, so I think it was around that time that they changed that and introduced the 2000 Plus, I would think. A lot of these keyboards had a slightly different layout with the enter key and shift. A lot of these mid-gen ones were the Monterey layout type with big ass enter, full size backspace, and backslash key here, empty key here. A lot of these later ones had the split right shift focus layout because of the Windows keys, and obviously it wouldn't work the other way around. The earliest ones are the focus layout type that had, nothing here but the same split right shift. If you're looking for a specific switch type, focus layout type with these keys omitted, those are your best bet for genuine Alps. If you want real Alps in one of these things. If you looking at one of these Monterey layout models with these two extra keys here, you're looking at likely white Alps to these nicer Alps clones. You can also get those Omron clones, which I've heard are pretty decent as well. Definitely the best mix of the good switches are with this layout. And then the winkey layouts are all very likely most commonly the crappy clones. Even like this board, I didn't even clean up besides the keycaps. These things feel really crap. Clones just don't stand up to dirt and crud at all. Like, they feel worse than dirty Alps. Like, these are like scratchy, but not bindy. These feel so much worse. There's like some keys that, like, if I can find one that like a bit sticky as well. But yes, definitely winkey ones. I wouldn't bother looking at these at all. If you do somehow manage to find one of the 2001s with those fake blue Alps switches, definitely snap it up, because they're pretty rare switches and they're very fun to mess with, and they're overall super interesting. Alright, so taking a look at the back. This is the one with OA2 clones, 1993, 908. And then the Alps one from 1993, it starts at 513, so I guess this one might be a bit older, but this one actually has the older case design with, I don't know, this little thing there, and then the extra holes on the side there. Is there one? Yeah, and there's the empty one under the foot, because then if we look at the Alps one, it's not there. And then, of course, the Windows, both of the Windows key ones are 1997. I just realized the serials are only 6 numbers apart. So, really close siblings. That's kind of funny. But yeah, they do have flip-out feet, which work fine. And then they all have the plastic clips. Thankfully, I didn't think they were as hard to open as an AT-101. You just kind of have to stick in a flathead screwdriver, like push these in, and you can like carefully, snap off or take loosen the top part of the case. And then I recommend having all the keycaps off before you do this. With the top case tilted up, slide it towards you, and then then you won't break any of the clips on the front here, because these kind of like slide in, so don't pull it up, because then you'll break them. Just, slide the top part towards you, and then you'll be good there. All 4 of mine use a coiled cable with a 5-pin DIN plug, although the coiled part on the winkey ones is a bit shorter than, for example, this winkeyless one. But yeah, the cables on all of mine are pretty similar, although I've heard the very last ones were PS2, but as I said, don't worry about winkey models, because they have crappy switches 99% of the time anyway. I'm pretty sure all of these keyboards came with dust covers, except for like the very, very last ones. Although, with all 4 of mine, none of them came with a dust cover or any of the inserts. So, I can't say, much about that. But if you can find one with a dust cover, then that could mean the switches and keycaps will be in decent condition, because being protected from the elements, which is always a good thing. But final words here, definitely stick with the winkeyless models, unless you want one of these to harvest keycaps from or something, because the switches in these later ones aren't that good. Most of these came with these crappy T1 clones, although it says you can get those fake blue Alps, which are really super interesting and definitely worth picking up if you somehow spot one of these with those switches in it. But definitely would recommend sticking with a winkeyless one, if at all possible. And if you want genuine Alps, get one with the focus layout that has nothing here and the split right shift. Otherwise, I think these Monterey layout models, I think, are the most common. And definitely have the widest switch variety. Although I think the old Focus layout ones could come with the futabas. But apart from gambling across White Alps, OA2 clones, omrons, well, mostly White Alps or OA2s, for these Monterey layout models. It says it can also come with the T1s for these, although I haven't seen one of those. You know, I knew that these window keys models would come with the crappy switches, but because both of these win keyless ones were gamble boards for me, I actually ended up with both decent switches with these, so. But I really like these OA2s. I'm definitely going to have to find one of those Lion DS 2006 or 2009 boards with these, because I think those boards only come with these switches, and I really like them. So I'll definitely try and see if I can get one of those in the future. And a lot of these, yeah, definitely came with Alps, but this one just wasn't in the best condition. So yeah, definitely look for windkeyless one if you want one of these. But yeah, I think that'll cover it up for this video, kind of showcasing all four of these keyboards together. And of course, oh yeah, I forgot to show you the badges. The windkeyless ones don't have the ATXC switch, but you can open them by pushing on the back. Both of my windkeyless ones still have the ATXC switch there. And then of course this one doesn't have it. Although I've noticed the caps on these don't seem to yellow quite as much as other keyboards. Like even this one was in like the worst condition. Like the bottom of the case is yellowed decently, but only like a few of the caps. So it's definitely a good thing. Like some that are very slightly yellow on this one, but you know, you can find these in good condition. So yeah, that'll conclude for this video. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. I know this was a long one, but hope you enjoyed. And that'll be it.